Guys, welcome back to my channel. I'm super excited about today's video because this is a question that I get asked all the time, which is how do you even get onto the first page when you're selling on Amazon? How do I make sure that people want my product? How do I know if there's demand for my product? And you're in luck because in today's video, I'm going to show you exactly how that is done. But before we do that, I do quickly just want to say thank you to everyone who has been joining the channel and subscribing. We are growing quickly here, so I'm really excited to see how many of you are just interested in starting your own businesses, diversifying your income, starting a side hustle with Amazon, and I'm here to help you. So if you are interested and you are not yet subscribed, go ahead and hit the subscribe button as well as the bell in order to be notified whenever I upload a new video. And with that, we're gonna hop right in. So before we hop into my computer and I show you how this is all done, I wanna give you a little bit of context as to why this is important. And when I say this, I mean keywords on Amazon. So if you've ever heard of the term SEO or search engine optimization, that is simply just making sure that your content, your products, whatever it is that you have to sell is able to be discovered by hopefully your target audience. So it's a way of optimizing whatever it is that you're selling so that you can have as much traffic and as much sales and profit as possible through SEO. I do want to clarify that the technical definition of SEO involves optimizing a website. However, when you're selling on Amazon, you don't have your own separate website. You are just creating a listing on Amazon's existing website. So it is a form of SEO, but with Amazon, it all comes down to keywords. Now, the reason why keywords are important on Amazon is because whenever a customer is looking to purchase a product, the first thing that they're going to do is type in Amazon.com, and then they're going to go to the search bar and type in whatever it is that they are looking for. And so that keyword that they are typing into the search bar is extremely important because the products that populate for the keyword that has been typed in are the ones that are most relevant to that keyword. So what I mean by that is if someone is typing in the keyword sunglasses, the sunglasses that show up first are the ones that are selling the fastest. Those are the ones that are optimized and doing the best on Amazon, and they're going to show those ones first because of the fact that there's proof of concept. If other customers are buying that product at a rapid rate, then Amazon assumes that new customers would also be interested in those products that are selling really well. And so that is why it's important to be aware of keywords, especially when you're doing your product research, so that you are aware of what customers are typing when they go to Amazon.com to ensure that your product shows up on that very first page. Anyone who sells on Amazon knows that it is extremely important to try to get as close to the first page and as high up on the first page as possible, because it is a proven fact that the products that are on the first page are the ones that make the most money. And so it's really important that you keep that in mind as you are looking for products to sell on Amazon. Now, when it comes to demand on Amazon as it relates to these keywords, a very important metric that you can look at is called keyword search volume. How many times a keyword is being searched for on Amazon's platform over the course of a month? And that's what I want to show you right now. So let's hop on into my computer. Okay, we are inside my computer right now, and this is what I was talking about earlier. You go to Amazon.com, and what you can see at the very top is the search bar. Now, let's talk a little bit more about these keywords. So I want you guys to know first that I do have a software installed on my computer. It's called Helium 10. I have a link for you to try it out down in the description box, but that's the reason that you're going to see some extra information pop up on my screen that you won't see if you don't have Helium 10 installed. So don't get confused. It's simply because I have that software already downloaded on my computer. And so what I'm going to do is go to the search bar and I can type anything in that I want. So as you can see, again, this is the Helium 10 software that's populating. So what I'm going to do is just type something that is very common, something that happens year round, that would not be seasonal. So for example, let's type in wedding, right? Weddings can happen in the summer, in the winter, it can happen any day of the year. So let me type in wedding. Now, when I type this into my search bar, I can see a bunch of information pop up here. So let me show you what you're looking at. what you can see is the suggestions that Amazon pre-populates. So if I type in wedding, Amazon might suggest that I type in wedding gifts, wedding registry search, wedding planner. So these are words that would come after wedding that have, pretty solid search volumes. And when I say search volume, I mean these numbers that you can see next to the words. So if it says wedding gifts and the search volume for wedding gifts is 56,526, that means that is how many searches there are for this over the course of a month on Amazon.com. And you can see how it changes depending on what the keyword is. So I'm gonna come back to that concept, but let me just show you here. We've got related keywords. So again, wedding gifts is the first one that comes to the top, wedding decor, bride, wedding decorations, wedding guest book, wedding favors. And then after that, we've also got keywords that could come after wedding, even more, and then keywords that could come before wedding. So for example, it could be card box for a wedding, veil for bride, wedding, cake topper, wedding. So it's just giving you a bunch of keywords that you can dive a little bit deeper into. And what I will say here is that you can really search for anything and start at any point that you want. I was just typing in the word wedding in general, but it would probably make sense to specify a little bit more. So what we can do is type or just click on wedding favors, and let's see where that takes us. So we can see that wedding favors is going to have a search volume of 23,000, which is a healthy search volume. So what happens if we click on wedding favors? We can see the search page. And just in case you have never really thought a lot about how things are structured on Amazon, let me just tell you real quick that at the very top, you see this brand that is paying for this position on the page. They're literally paying to be at the very, very top of this page. And that's why you see the little sponsored word right here with the gray. That means that they have paid for this position, and they're paying for it because obviously they want you to shop with them, and it would be a worthy investment for them to promote their brand under this keyword. Now you can see that you can shop for handmade items, but if you continue to scroll down, this is where you see the actual results for wedding favors. And at the very beginning, what you're going to see is the ones that are sponsored. Once again, these are ads. And so they don't organically occur in the first position. This isn't the fastest selling item. This Danae, DKIY brand, they're not actually the first ones. They're paying to be here. And the reason that people are paying for this visibility is because it will inevitably bring more traffic to their listings, and they're hoping that the clicks and the traffic will convert into actual sales. So they're investing in the ads so that they can make more money back. So the first three here are sponsored. And if we keep scrolling, then we can see the very first item that is organically here, which is this one. This looks to be a bottle opener, and it comes with 100 pieces. It has a 5-star rating, $28, which I'm sure they have an incredible profit margin. I'm sure this is a cheap product to make. Even though there are 100, I'm sure it doesn't cost that much for this to be produced. I would guess under $5, and they're selling it for $28. So they're going to be making a very, very healthy profit off of this item. Next to that, we have these like mints as a wedding favor. We've got these keychains as a wedding favor as well. I think that's a bottle opener too. And all of these other results, they've got these LED light sticks here. And actually, we might have a very good product idea. Let's go ahead and look up more of the numbers and more of the data using Helium 10. I have the Google Chrome extension installed on my computer here in my toolbar that I'm hovering over right now. So I'm gonna go ahead and click on that, and we're gonna pull up the tool X-Ray so that we can look and see more of the details of wedding favors, because that is the keyword that we have identified. So what we see is what we already know, that the search volume is 23,022. And what I'm actually going to do, since the topic of this video is keywords, I want to look at the graph for the search volume. And don't worry, I'm going to explain what I mean by that. So let me go ahead and pull it up, and then we'll talk a little bit more. So what happens is it defaults to the 30-day view of the trends of the search volume over time. So this is how many searches that wedding favors has had over the last 30 days. And you can actually segment it by 90 days, 1 year, and all time. So I will just take a quick look at the 30-day view since that is what automatically comes up. And what I can see is that the search volume since May has hovered right around 23,000. It hasn't really increased drastically. It did have a tiny dip here down to 22,000 and then another increase up here to 23 again. So it seems to be very consistent in our narrow 30-day view, but it's always important to get a bigger picture and a better idea of what's going on longer term. So instead of just looking at 30 days, let's go ahead and open it up for 90 days. And now we can see that we have a better vision of how this keyword is performing over time. So instead of us just thinking, okay, it hovers around 23,000 all the time, we can see that actually it had a bigger peak in May. I'm not sure if, since it's the start of spring in the US, that there are more weddings at that time. I don't know for a fact, but that's what I would guess. And then we can see even further back that they have been slightly lower in the past, and that's just good information to have. Let's go ahead and click on 1 year and see what happens to the graph. Okay, now we see a lot of variation in the numbers. So what we can see is that in June of 2022, the searches were much higher, and I can only assume, and we'll see if I'm right or not once we click on all time, that this was a little bit of the aftermath of the P word. Y'all know what I'm talking about, the COV word. I'm not gonna say it because YouTube will be mad at me, but I think that this is a little bit of the remnants of that, and that's just my speculation. But obviously when you are looking at these numbers, you want to try to deduce what is going on and what could be causing these ebbs and flows with these products, because you want to be sure that the product that you're selling has a consistent demand. You don't want to pick a product based off of the 30-day view, which looks great and it looks like it's increasing or it's steady, and then if you were to look back, it was just down, and it just started to pick up. You don't know what's going to happen in the future. So the history of the searches gives you a better idea of what the future might be. So this is the 1 year view. At the peak here, we can see that they had almost 60,000 searches, which is very solid. I'm going to go ahead and click on all time because I'm very curious as to what has happened. Okay, so there's a lot to look at here, but what we can see is that there seem to be a couple of peaks. I see a peak here, it looks like March of 2020. Another peak here looking like July 2021. And then lastly, another little peak, July 2022. So I think, we can all, once again, figure out what happened here, what was going on in the world in the spring of 2020, we all know. So it looks like the searches for wedding favors took a nosedive. No one knew what was going on or if we were going to be able to gather or whatever. So it makes a lot of sense that there weren't crazy searches during the month of April. There was a lot of uncertainty. It started to pick back up a little bit here in the summertime and then took another kind of nosedive during the holiday season. And that seems to be the case, is that things go down during December, which makes perfect sense. It's Christmas and the New Year. I'm sure, people may not want to have weddings at the time that so much else is going on as far as the holidays. So that makes a lot of sense as far as kind of the dips. Now, the most popular time looks to be in July 2021. And I have to assume that people were looking up wedding favors because I know that there were a lot of kind of DIY weddings at the time. People, gathering in smaller groups and, trying to figure things out. So that all checks out for me. So in the grand scheme of things, we can see that there's not a crazy amount of consistency. I mean, it depends on how you look at it, right? We can see that there are peaks, we can see that there are valleys, and it's somewhat predictable in that sense. But because of what was happening in the world and how it affected people's ability to celebrate and gather, we don't know for a fact what's going to happen moving forward. In fact, I think probably looking at the time before 2020 would probably give us a better idea of what the trend would be naturally without external factors. So that being said, that is kind of how you can look at the history of these searches over time. And I think it's very interesting to be able to see. I hope that that gives a little bit of context as to why it's important to look at the search history and the search volume over time when it comes to seeing if there is demand for a product on Amazon. Now, in a little bit more context, there are hundreds of millions of people who shop on Amazon and use Amazon Prime. So if a product or a keyword has a search volume that is extremely low, and to me, extremely low is under 3,000 searches per month, then there just really isn't a lot of demand for that product. So you want to look for products where there are enough searches to sustain, the sales that you would expect to get from launching your first product. If there are only 1,000 searches, think about it this way, that's really only 1,000 opportunities for you to make a sale over the course of an entire month. That's very, very limited. You want there to be tens of thousands of chances for you to make a sale because you're not the only one selling it. There are other people, and the revenue is going to be basically divided amongst the sellers. So it's kind of a way of making sure that there's enough room for you, enough opportunity for you to make money just like everybody else. So that is what I would pinpoint here as far as keyword search volume. And what I like to do as well is to just kind of compare how a keyword like wedding favors might compare to a keyword like wedding decor. They're similar, but not the same. So I'm gonna go ahead and just show you quickly how making a simple alteration to the keyword that you type in can drastically change the numbers that you are presented with. So I'm going to type in wedding decor, and we can see that these are different types of items. They're not all necessarily wedding favors or party favors, but these are just things that you might find at a wedding. Rose petals or flower danglies or whatever these are called. So I'm going to go ahead and do the same thing. I'm searching it up using Helium 10, and I'm gonna pull it up right here so we can take a quick look and see how the numbers differ. That is a coincidence. The numbers are very similar, and it's not because the keywords are the same. It just happens that the search volume is 23,000. So that's pretty funny that they would be so similar. I'm going to do exactly what I did with wedding favors and just kind of look at the history of this keyword and how it has developed over time. Again, it pre-populates to the 30-day view, but we can go ahead and look at 90 days. We can look at 1 year. Ooh, there's a huge peak here. July 2022 must have been a popular month for weddings because that is really, really intense. Okay, and then we're looking at all time. So it looks like this has been pretty steady over time. It looks like it's kind of lingered at anywhere between 12,000 to about, 30,000 or actually 50,000 with this exception of this very, very intense peak here and on July 16th. I don't know what happened. Was there like a royal wedding, or I have to believe that something caused this because it's just specifically on this one day. I don't think that this was organic. So I would be curious to kind of look back, and maybe I would do a little bit of research just on Google. July 16th, what happened? Just my own curiosity would cause me to do that. But either way, we can see that that was an outlier, and the search volume had a little bit of a dip in April, but it looks like it's picking back up a bit now. So we're not quite sure. What it does have in common is like these slight dips. It looks like during December and April, things seem to take a little bit of a dip. So this was December 2019, April 2020. December 2020, not as much of a dip this April, but then we go December 2021, not a huge dip here, that weird point, and then December, dip down again, and then this dip in April. So that is what it looks like for this keyword, wedding decor. And out of curiosity, I'm just going to type in wedding favor. Before we did the plural version, let me just do the singular version and see if we get different results. I'm curious to see if that affects the results. One thing about me, I'm gonna just check. I'm just gonna look. Let's just see. So before we were looking at 23,000 something, look at that. Simply going from wedding favors, plural, we went from 23,000 searches to wedding favor, singular, 1,200 or almost 1,300. That is a drastic difference. So let me ask you guys, if you are selling on Amazon, would you rather be on page 1 for wedding favors or a wedding favor? Right? That's why keywords are important. And so when you are trying to get on the first page, obviously wedding favors is where there's more searches, more traffic. You would love for your product to be on the first page of wedding favors. If you're on the first page of wedding favor, okay, but it's not going to make a huge difference as far as visibility and traction to your listing. Now, I know y'all are gonna ask, well, how do I get to that first page? It's all about running your Amazon ads, which is also known as PPC or pay per click. And that's what these sponsored items are right here, where they are paying for the visibility once again. So running PPC can really get you a little bit of a boost as far as getting, more eyes on your listing and just kind of helping you get your sales going, because the way that Amazon works is the products on the first page are the ones that are selling the most. So by utilizing PPC, you can get more sales, which increases your sales velocity, the speed at which you're selling, and that increased sales velocity will help you get onto that first page. So the more products you sell, the more visibility you get, the more visibility you get, the more products you sell, and you just kind of get rewarded by Amazon's algorithm in that way. So that is what I recommend for getting on page 1. And so I hope that this kind of gave a little bit more context as to looking at keywords. If you all want a follow-up video where I show you how to use Helium 10, there's another tool, it's called Magnet. Very helpful as far as figuring out which keywords are most relevant for your product. I'm happy to make that video. Just let me know in the comments and I can go ahead and record that for you guys. I hope that this was helpful. If it was, let me know. Give me a thumbs up or something in the comments. Engage with me, talk to me, ask me your questions. I'm here to help. And with that, we're gonna go ahead and close it out. Don't forget to subscribe and I'll see you guys in the next one. Bye.